Behind the polished speeches of world leaders lies a different kind of politics, a system driven by desperate and contradictory actions taken behind closed doors. Take Ukraine's recent attempt to secure American favor. They reportedly used ChatGPT to draft a presentation proposing to rename the Donbas region Donyland, a bizarre attempt to flatter Donald Trump into supporting their territorial claims. While offering vanity projects to Washington, they were taking aggressive measures on the ground. To pressure Russia, they covertly disabled a gas pipeline supplying critical energy to Hungary and Slovenia. But when both nations threatened to veto Ukraine's EU funding, the pipeline was quietly repaired. These reversals show that for nations under pressure, a public stance is just a temporary tool. When the choice is between holding a principle and losing a budget, the principle is the first thing to be discarded. This friction between public strategy and private action is visible in India's foreign policy as well. Officially, New Delhi maintains a strict neutral balance between Israel and the powers of the Middle East, particularly Iran. However, that official neutrality is often undermined by state-aligned media figures. Commentators like Major Gaurav Arya have publicly called Israel a blood brother while cheering for intensified bombings in Lebanon and Gaza, rhetoric that directly contradicts the government's neutral stance. This aggressive domestic narrative eventually eroded the diplomatic shield of neutrality. It signaled a clear bias to Tehran, turning India's delicate balancing act into a liability. The consequences moved from the television studio to the high seas. Targeted retaliatory strikes hit Indian commercial oil tankers in the Red Sea, proving that domestic political theater can trigger very real international violence. Governments are discovering that they cannot separate their internal messaging from their global standing. When a nation's domestic rhetoric becomes too loud, its international ships pay the price. This same double face is used to manage voters at home. In Uttar Pradesh, leaders promote strict religious and dietary laws, implementing aggressive meat bans that project an image of cultural purity. But that image shifts depending on the geography. In West Bengal, those same political figures have promised to eat meat and fish on camera to win over a different electorate, showing that these dietary convictions are actually flexible campaign tactics. These bans aren't just about food. They are used to target the daily trade and livelihoods of the minority community. From there, it is a short step to a broader political narrative that labels these same demographics as a primary threat to national security. Yet the ground reality often breaks that narrative. When the special cell recently foiled a major grenade plot in Delhi, the arrested suspects weren't from the groups typically targeted by politicians. They were Rajveer and Vivek Banjara, two young men who defy the profile push during election rallies. It suggests that domestic political stories are often engineered distractions. They are designed to keep the public focused on a specific demographic enemy, even when the actual security data points in a different direction. While voters are distracted by these domestic debates, the actual strategic moves are happening in silence. Nations are quietly preparing for the possibility of a much larger conflict. This $3.5 billion acquisition of American P-8I spy planes is a prime example. These aren't for show. They are high-end maritime hunters designed to monitor submarine activity and secure naval dominance. Other escalations are equally quiet. China is now training Pakistani citizens for space missions, and military fighter jets are practicing emergency landings on Indian expressways. These aren't symbolic gestures. They are rehearsal for war, and the rest of the world is starting to take note. Arab journalists have begun publicly criticizing regional Indian leaders, signaling that local extremist speeches are now having a global diplomatic cost. To understand the direction the world is moving, we have to look past the theater of the double face. Don't judge a leader by the rhetoric they use to win an election. Judge them by the hardware they buy and the maneuvers they make when the cameras aren't watching.